Well, hello again, and welcome into another week of Weather Chat here. I'm meteorologist Scott Sumner, and your host once again this week. And we've gotten through one holiday. Well, that holiday, of course, was Halloween just a little while ago, and we're coming up fast on the second one, which, of course, the big one, and the middle one is Thanksgiving. Now, this week with me, I have, again, compadre and fellow meteorologist Damon Matson. Hello, Damon. How are you today?
Hello, Scott. Good to be here. All good and excited. I mean, we're getting to chat about all things weather and Thanksgiving together, if you will. These holidays are always exciting. So, going to be a fun one.
Absolutely. Always a lot of fun for sure. One of my favorite holidays is Thanksgiving. I think my favorite personally is Christmas, but
Oh, yeah.
there's always some good memories with Thanksgiving, right? Whether it's the food
Yeah.
or whether some interesting travel. If you're one that fly, I don't know, do you fly places? on Thanksgiving?
Well, thankfully not. I mean, home is pretty close by in Western Pennsylvania, so no flying here, but I know people got travel stories, depending on if they do.
Oh yeah. Thank goodness the government shutdown is over with now.
Yes.
and that's going to help alleviate some of that travel. But and the other thing too, of course. Hey, you and I are sports guys. Football. Mm-hmm. I do have one game that I remember quite vividly, but we'll get to that in a moment. But
Yeah.
so you have any travel plans this year, or do you have anything big planned this year?
Well, this is the holiday. We take turns, obviously, here in the weather department. We each get a holiday to kind of go home and see everyone. So Thanksgiving is my time. I get to go back to Pittsburgh, back into Pennsylvania. We'll get to see the family. We'll get to spend several days just hanging out, get the good food. So it should be a pretty fun one. I was going to ask, do you got any plans as well? But I think you're here, if I'm right. Okay.
I am here. Actually, my mother's up visiting. She's in town from South Carolina, so we'll spend a nice quiet one. A couple of years ago, I had my cousin come down from upstate New York, and that was nice when she was here. But now this year, it's just going to be just the two of us, so a nice quiet one. And you know what? It's the first time I've actually had a Thanksgiving in who knows when. I don't know. I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And I usually do request Thanksgiving because I like having Christmas off. But
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
absolutely. So, we talk about, interesting things. Food. Now, what would you say is your favorite food on Thanksgiving?
Ooh, well, a little controversial here. I know it's not everybody's favorite, but my family's version of the green bean casserole is amazing. So I love that. Give me the stuffing all day long. It's just a Thanksgiving staple, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
those got to be my two tops. How about you?
I tell you what, stuffing is my favorite. My mother makes a terrific stuffing. I think we all say that about our moms. They make the best stuffing.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty simple. It's just a bread stuffing. That's it. But boy, it tastes really, really good. Doesn't take that long to cook either.
Beautiful.
So it's a gorgeous thing. Turkey. I love turkey, but my mother's not a huge turkey person, so she likes and prefers to actually buy a chicken, a whole chicken.
Oh, nice.
And have that. To her, the turkey dries out a little bit too much for her. I get it, but for me, I love turkey, and I certainly love the stuffing, and of course, mashed potatoes. Those three elements.
I love the variation though on the meat. Then and you can always make it your own depending on what you want, as long as it's good for the whole family. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely, and then, of course, after you have that big meal, you are fully stuffed, and well, that's meaning football, sitting on the couch with family or friends and enjoying and watching some games. Of course, traditional to have the Lions play and the Cowboys play every year. Any memorable games that you recall, Damon?
Well, and it's interesting, and I don't have anything NFL related, but because I went to Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl it's now on Black Friday, but it used to always be on Thanksgiving. So when I was at Mississippi State, I couldn't come home. I was there for the holiday. I went down for the game that year, and we did a Thanksgiving-style meal at the tailgate. And we got to spend the entire day tailgating, having a blast, partying it up a little bit.
Sure.
And we went into the game later that night. It was at 7 o'clock. But it was so cool to have that intersection of we had the traditional Thanksgiving down there, but also it was the football environment, big SEC game. So that was probably one of my most unique and memorable sports/Thanksgiving moments there.
See, That's cool because you actually went outside the house to watch an event.
Yeah.
I never have had that experience. It's always been watching football, either with friends or family, whatever. But I do remember being a huge Dolphins fan. Oh gosh, that's brutal to say. But when they were decent, down in Texas, that big fumble, Leon Lett. It was I think it was a fumble by Leon Lett, if I'm not mistaken, in the end zone. But the Dolphins recovered. They ended up winning that game, the Snowball.
Nice.
And that was something that I remember quite vividly, of course, the Thanksgiving holiday. But one of the few wins I think I've gotten on Thanksgiving.
Well, not too many games played for your Dolphins, I'm sure, because
No.
it's not one of the traditional teams to play. But I mean, that's a big time sports memory right there.
Oh,
I have remembered.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, you've had the Steelers play on Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. A few times against the Ravens too. They brought that rivalry game out, and that was always interesting. Mike Tomlin tripping a Ravens player. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, sure.
Yep,
Some good
yep.
stuff. Well, I tell you what, you said you're just driving to Pittsburgh
Yep.
this year, but we have actually a forecast put together here. I've got that for you, and that is, let's see here. We do have that coming up.
Yeah, and I mean, we were forecasting, I mean, not just for around here, we were kind of doing a unique little spin on everything, too, because I know that, everybody's worried about that Thanksgiving holiday travel, but it's interesting when you start looking around the country, Scott, there are these places that have the unique names that match up with some holidays, right?
Yeah, and we're going to go through that. I mean, we were putting this podcast together, and I was like, what else could we add to this to make it interesting? And I thought of this.
Yep.
So I'm going to let you take it over here. Start
Right.
us off with because we have 12 different names on the list, although some of them are repeated here.
Yeah, 12 different names, but they're across the country, and we do have Cheeseville, California. I'm surprised that's not over in Wisconsin. They're going to have a sunny and cooler Thanksgiving there in northern Cal in the lower 50s. We slide down to, that's fitting, Pie Town, New Mexico. Go figure, they'll also have a sunny but cool setup there in that part of the country with the desert air. Turkey, Texas, that is the most fitting one so far, no doubt. And it looks like the west coast of the country, the western half anyway, shaping up pretty nice, sunny skies. And then not too far down the road, I may have passed this on a storm chase once, Corn, Oklahoma, sunny with a temperature of 48 on Thanksgiving Day. We slide over then to Pilgrim, Missouri. All right, another good, unique Thanksgiving name. Again, sunny skies in the 40s there, nice and crisp for the holiday. And then Cranberry Lake, Wisconsin, partly cloudy and, no shock here, Scott, colder with only a high of 30 coming off the lake there. So all pretty fitting names, I'd say, across the country, to say the least.
Absolutely. So we're going to go from one Cranberry Lake in Wisconsin to another one up in New York State where they could have some snow showers possibly up by those Finger Lakes there, 38 degrees. We move down from there down to Cranberry, Pennsylvania, right in your neck of the woods there.
I know that well.
Yeah, Cranberry Township, I believe it's
Yes.
called, right? And that is going to be dry there. Pumpkin Town, West Virginia, mostly cloudy and 50 there. Might be a little bit wet at times. And then we move a little further south into Cranberry, North Carolina. Some showers there, temperature of 50 degrees. Down further into South Kakalaki, as we like to call it, Pumpkin Town, South Carolina, partly cloudy, 68. Okay, we're starting to warm up now.
Getting there.
We're getting there. And, of course, we saved the best temperature-wise for last. Bean City, Florida.
Ooh.
Partly sunny skies and 83 degrees.
Pretty nice on those Thanksgiving holidays down in Florida, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's I know I was talking to Cherise and living local. She said she was heading down to Florida, I think. So
Very nice.
very nice weather there. We've got some more weather to speak of. That was kind of around the country. But in our next block, stay with us. We're going to be, Damon and I are going to be talking about some local history, some local weather, temperature-wise, rain, and, of course, your beloved four-letter word, snow.
Love it.
In the forecast as well. That's all coming up. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. As we've been talking, Damon and I, a little bit about some Thanksgiving weather. Welcome in, Damon, once again. And we talked about a little about the country and some interesting Thanksgiving type names, city
Yeah.
names. Now we're going to start a little bit local and talk about that. So we're going to get right into it here. The first graphic, Thanksgiving Day weather. Now this is again since the turn of the century, since the year 2000. These are some of the numbers here. The average high is generally on Thanksgiving Day, 55 degrees. The average low, 37. We tend to get a little bit of rain on Thanksgiving. Not every Thanksgiving, but at least there's an average more than a trace, that's for sure, about 3/100 of an inch of precipitation. The warmest Thanksgiving was back in 2007 when it hit that double seven mark of 77 degrees, and the lowest was just 2 years prior. That came in at 25 degrees. So pretty interesting to note how you have 2 years apart the lowest and then the warmest temperature all within a span of just a little bit.
That's how it goes.
That's exactly how it goes. All right, so from there we're going to talk again now just in the short term, here the last 5 years. And it's pretty interesting to note that there's less discrepancy with the highs because you have a general range of 57 to 67. There's a little fluctuation in there, but not too bad. But the overnight lows, they fluctuate a little bit more. You've got almost a 20-degree temperature difference. Actually, you do have a 20-degree temperature difference from the lowest of 33 in 2022 here in D.C. to just 5 years ago when it was actually 53. And again, pretty much what the other graphic showed. We're looking at some dry days in there, like a mostly sunny 2 years ago. We had some mix of clouds on 2022 and 2021. No rain, but bookend. Last year we had a little bit of light rain coming in, and in 2020 we had a little bit of rain as well. So we're going to have, in the final section, we're going to give our predictions of what we think is going to happen here this Thanksgiving. But as you can see, really not too much, except maybe if you could say the overnight lows were a little bit extreme, down to 33, 53. But other than that, not too bad. Now,
No.
Damon, you're going to get into a little rain talk here.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you saw on the stats there that, it's not that we have totally dry Thanksgivings every single year, and that is sort of the way it goes. You know, we talk about it, too, leading up to Thanksgiving. The rainfall and the chance of wintry weather could be a little bit of an issue, but we'll talk more about that wintry side of things here in a little bit. But, the rainiest Thanksgiving we have on record for Washington, D.C., was quite a while ago, 1916. And of course, these dates vary because that Thanksgiving holiday does switch up on the dates every single year. And it was nearly an inch of rain was recorded all the way back over 100 years ago. But we haven't had that much rain on the Thanksgiving holiday since. Go figure. Now, it was interesting is Scott and I were talking about, doing this podcast, talking about all the Thanksgiving statistics. This is a recent one you may remember. Now, this was not on Thanksgiving, but this was just 2 years ago, right before we had that sunny and dry holiday itself. There was a lot of rain that came down 2 days before Thanksgiving 2 years ago on November 21st, 2023. A little over 2 inches of rain came down. I remember it fondly because I was here covering it I remember Brittany was here, and Scott, I don't remember. You may have been off that day, to be quite honest.
I may have been.
Okay.
I may have, yeah.
And it was just one of those rainfalls that, it wasn't snow after all, but it was certainly disruptive for all of the travelers that were trying to get out and about and, get on those planes, get on those roadways for the Thanksgiving holiday just 2 days down the line. So, we talk all about this rain and the active weather that could impact the holiday itself, but a lot of times it's those couple of days before and after that really make a difference with everybody traveling and moving about to celebrate the holiday, Scott. So that's why we wanted to bring that up as an honorable mention because it may not always rain on Thanksgiving, but those days beforehand, they matter quite a bit.
Absolutely, because, you figure, a day or two beforehand is the biggest travel day.
Yes.
So people, that's a big deal. Thanksgiving Day itself, yes, you're at home or with friends or family, but you're mainly indoors, unless you happen to be at a football game like David said he was.
True.
But other than that, you're mainly indoors, and so you're just sitting and watching it. But you're right. 2 days, 3 days either side of Thanksgiving, biggest travel days coming and going.
Yep.
Yeah, you want to make sure that hopefully those days are fairly dry, especially for those who do fly. Now, I want to also add in tier 2. I didn't add it as a graphic to our podcast, but as another kind of mention that 9.96 total rain, that was solely rain. There was another day on Thanksgiving which had rain and a mix, and that equated to a 1.15 total liquid precipitation. But to keep things in its truest form, I kept it here and kept that graphic at almost an inch there with just straight rain.
Interesting. Yeah, I can get that mixture. You know how it is in these colder months. It's not always just going to be that plain rain.
No, that is true. All right, well, stick around. We've got snow to talk about on Thanksgiving. That's coming up on the next break. We also have a talk about our forecast, and we'll also mention, too, some local events that are happening around the DMV. We'll be back right after this. Okay, welcome back into Weather Chat. With me today, of course, we have Damon Matson. We've been talking this whole time about Thanksgiving weather, both locally and abroad. Well, domestically, but
close enough.
Close enough. Yeah.
Out of the DMV.
Out of the DMV is what I meant. So, why don't you start us off here, Damon, talking a little bit about Thanksgiving Day snow?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the soggy weather, the rain that we can get on Thanksgiving, and we'd be remiss not to mention some snow. It doesn't happen all that often on Thanksgiving. We know that snowfall likes to hold off a bit until we get into December, January, especially in D.C., but it wasn't that long in the past that we did have some snow on Thanksgiving, and it was the snowiest on record, just an inch and a half, a little over that, 1.6 inches on November 23rd, 1989. So not enough to make it look like that blizzard scene in behind there on the graphic, but hey, nonetheless, snow on Thanksgiving is a unique experience. Not one we see often here, but it's happened in the past before.
Absolutely. So what I wanted to do is that storm you just talked about, Damon, I wanted to actually go into the archives, NOAA's archives, and get the maps for the surface maps for that particular storm. And so that's what we have. So we're going to go full here. And we're going to talk a little bit about these graphically and how it occurred. Because, again, it's a rare event, right? It doesn't happen too often.
Yep.
So when you get accumulating snow on a holiday, especially Thanksgiving, so early, that, okay, what created that? So there you see at the top right, it says Tuesday, November 21st, 1989, 2 days before. We had a pretty strong storm off the northeast coast, and we had a big dome of high pressure bringing some much colder air towards the center of the nation. So there, right there is kind of the trigger, starting to see a little element.
The ingredients are lining up, right?
The ingredients are lining up. And then I want your eyes to shift on the map towards the bottom lower center of it. You see a little bit of gray there. There's a little bit of a wavering front. And there's a little bit of moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. So the next day, boy, look at that overspread. First of all, the high pressure that you saw on the last map in the center of the nation shifts over us. So, of course, it's a beautiful sunny day for us here, the day before Thanksgiving. People are like, oh, this is going to be wonderful. But there's a blob of gray down. It's just a little low. Again, bottom lower. And there's that front, and there's some moisture coming up.
It's building up. I mean, that's all. I'm sure for them down that way it was rainfall mostly. But I mean, you get all that moisture coming off of the Gulf of Mexico like that. It builds up over time. You know. It
does. And so, and you probably learned this too, or remember this in school, in class. There's the Miller A and Miller B type storms when it comes to snow events.
Yep.
And the Miller A, this is a classic Miller A situation setting up here. And by the way, stuff that is named is from prior, meteorologists or what have researchers who actually named the storm that came up with it. So a Miller back in the day came up with it. So it's called Miller A and Miller B thing. So the next one, it scoots from the deep south right off the Carolina coast.
Yep.
And we had already that cold air in place. That's another element that we needed. See that high up in Canada, up by Quebec. Well, that helped to keep the air cold enough for that moisture to move in and just be pretty much all snow.
And I mean, that's the ingredients that we usually talk about when it comes to that winter weather. You just need some bit of moisture. A lot of times it can be too dry. You can't get that snow to fall when the air just doesn't have the moisture to drop down that snow. But in this case, again, they came up from the Gulf. We even had a little influence off the Atlantic right there. That storm was strengthening and had the cold air to work with, and seems to have lined up perfectly back in the day there in 1989 where we had that snowfall coming down.
Absolutely. Some interesting stuff. So I just wanted to see how that went. Now, I talked about the Miller B situation. That's a little different scenario. It's where a storm that forms sometimes in the Great Lakes or a little further north kind of scoots across the Ohio-Tennessee Valley and then scoots south of us out to sea in the same location as a Miller A storm. And that could create some snow as well. Both systems, and in this one, in this case, the 89 system, was a rapidly moving progressive storm. So, unlike some big nor'easters that we can get from those Miller A type systems.
Yeah. The faster moving ones give us that small little dose, right? But you can think back maybe to some of the more memorable nor'easters.
2010, I think, right?
Snowmageddon. There it is.
There you go.
It just sat around and it just built up all that snow over the DMV. Not a Thanksgiving storm, but nonetheless, one that everybody remembers.
No, definitely not. So that leads us to, hey, what's going to happen this Thanksgiving? So do you get a chance to look at anything, Damon? Or what's your prognostication on this year, Thanksgiving 2025?
Yeah, and of course, being a week out, we do typically start to see a general pattern shaping up right within our forecasts. And, we had rain last night across the DMV as of this recording anyway. And we've had a little bit more rain starting to work into the mix, a couple storm systems in. I think that pattern keeps going. And while it's going to be nice, it looks like the lead up to Thanksgiving, it looks like we could get our next dose of rainfall somewhere in that vicinity. It may be late Wednesday. The timing's still going to be one to hone out, but I think there's going to be clouds. There's going to be some wet weather rolling by. It's not going to be enough, I think, to interrupt anybody's plans. But I think we could get a rainy Thanksgiving this year, Scott. What about you?
Yeah, you know what? We're two great minds think alike, right? I kind of saw the same scenario. It's not going to be a washout, that's for sure. Not even close. No snow in the forecast this year. So if there is some moisture, it's going to be mild enough to be in the form of rain. And you know how that works because basically it takes, I think someone did some sort of research on that, about 5 to 6 days from a West Coast storm to come on board, move across the country, drop whatever it has with it in our backyard. So that's 5, 6 days. So we always look ahead, like the week prior to Thanksgiving. What happened that week could potentially happen the week of Thanksgiving. And like you said, a little bit, it's not a washout, but there could be a little bit of rain in the forecast.
And we got a storm coming in on Friday, the next round of rain here in the DMV. So there's your 5-6 day window raining this Friday. You go out Wednesday, Thursday next week. Well, I might have more.
That's true. But you know what? Some people don't care because they'll either stay indoors or, of course, right after Black Friday, right after Thanksgiving is Black Friday, and everybody's out early in the morning. I worked in retail for a couple of years. Some people don't know that. I did work in retail for about 4 years outside of weather. And I started, stupidly enough, on Black Friday.
Oh, no.
And it was brutal. This is down in the South. I was down in the Hilton Head area and Savannah region. And, boy, they opened up stores back in the day. It was like, I think, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening of Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So I had my dinner. I went to work.
Oh, boy.
I worked overnight, and it was a madhouse. You would have thought it was the middle of the day for the amount of people packed into some of the stores.
And people took that seriously back when there was no online shopping, especially. So
Right,
that was your one option, and they tried to take advantage.
Absolutely. So that's one thing to do, but of course, with that kicks off, of course, the holiday shopping, events, and things to do locally. So let's take a look at what we have here, Thanksgiving events, and why don't you kick us off with this one? What's happening in D.C.?
Yeah, in D.C. itself, there's always something happening, and even on the holidays, we have that, and it's maybe not exactly lining up with the Thanksgiving theme here, but it is right around the corner, Christmas time. Those holiday light displays will be out, so the National Mall will be having those displays set up, and it's going to be at the U.S. Botanic Garden, so you can go down and check that out, and the Smithsonian museums are typically open on Thanksgiving Day as well, something that you can always always check out to go along with that. And on the wharf, they start to get the ice rinks going. And it's interesting with the warmer air, some of that rain coming in, we'll see the state of the ice. But, I mean, you can typically start to try to go out and get some ice skating in at times in D.C. And then we'll slide over quickly to Maryland, a few spots having some very fun events, like in Silver Spring, the largest parade in the area, the Thanksgiving parade happening. And that's actually before Thanksgiving, this Saturday, the 22nd. So something fun that you can go out to there. And on National Harbor, there's always something interesting happening. And we have Christmas on the Potomac and ice at the Gaylord National Resort happening in Maryland. And then, Scott, well, we have a few more seconds. You can mention real quick those events in Northern Virginia as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Alexandria has a winter village that's occurring there. We also have the Centerville Bull Run Festival of Lights. That's a drive through 2.5 miles of festive light displays there. We also have the Vienna Meadowlarks Winter Walk of Lights, pretty good stuff. And of course, we always have Mount Vernon tours. I've been to Mount Vernon. That has been a pretty nice, actually a fairly nice thing to do. So certainly
Cool.
You want to do it during the holidays.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for our Thanksgiving weather fun podcast that we had today. Of course, we'll be back next week. But in the meantime, God bless, be well, stay safe, and we'll talk again.